This is the A to Z podcast, Take 10. We'll get to that in a minute. I'm Zach Jackson. He's Andre Knott. We're on most of your favorite social media platforms, at Akron Jackson, at Dre Knott. We're at facebook.com/A to Z podcast, A to Z podcast.com. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, we appreciate your support over the years, the months, the wild stories, the meandering things that we do, and the occasional sports and life that we talk. Anyway, if you are new here, we get excited. We venture into mature/immature subjects and occasionally say four-letter words. So if that's not for you or if you're in a work environment, come back to A to Z at another time. Supporting us for a long time have been Cleveland Scene, the Honeymoon Grill in the Portage Lakes, and our friends American Fireworks in Hudson. They are always open 24/7 at AmericanFireworks.com. I was outside a little bit ago, Dre. I can tell you it is officially summer. We go right from winter to summer here in Cleveland, in Northeast Ohio. And I know we're 2 weeks from Memorial Day, so it is time to get to American Fireworks.
Bang, bang. At American Fireworks, as much as we love you, we may have to call you and talk about some dealings and deals that we have coming. We love you, and we hope that you love us as much as we love you, because we may be making y'all national. Go get these fireworks. Bang, bang, bang. You know what? I know it's nice outside because I'm reading a tweet right now that says Corinne Height with a great catch in left for Manchester to save 2 runs and retired Tulsa in the bottom of the 5th. 4-1 Mustangs. It is 3 o'clock here on the East Coast. How the hell is Manchester softball already playing a game right now?
We academics first. No, it's districts. So, I wanted to go to the St. V baseball game tomorrow. Well, they're charging $10 to get in.
Yeah, how do they charge? Yeah, and I know the coaches will both hear this. How do you charge money at where they're playing at Summit Lake?
They don't. Right, this isn't even these facilities are just like open parks. You can't even do it.
I thought they would drop off a pair of LeBrons, and you get a pair of LeBrons if you can stay for 3 hours.
Well, we're off on tangents already, and guys, I want to say, whether this is your first time, your second time, or your 200th time, thank you. I know it's been a little bit, and part of that is because we were doing some other podcast business that will start to show up later in the summer, and we'll stick with you on that. But we did record one yesterday, and I messed up the settings, and it wasn't usable. So we're going to start with an edition of our favorite game, Congrat and Congrats.
Yes.
And we start with me, and congrat to me for doing that.
Yes, congrat to you for doing that, and congrat to me because I don't even remember or recall. I used to be able to remember, like, hey, we had this conversation, or hey, we had this conversation. And the congrat truly starts with myself because I texted you Sunday night, I believe it was. And I was like, I had a thought in my mind, and I was going to get another beverage from the refrigerator. And I was like, I'm texting Zach right now to give him like these 4 topics that I really want to hit on. And literally within the text, I forgot my 4th topic and the most important topic. So this was not meant to be, basically, is what I was saying.
Listen, I feel you. And part of it is because I know that you're doing West Coast baseball games without being on the West Coast. So you're still having a normal life, whatever normal is for you, for us, for most of our listeners, right? But then you're driving to an empty baseball stadium and you're there till 1:30 in the morning watching an offense putt along, right? And then still going back to your normal life. So that's different. But we did talk some NFL schedule, Dre. We talked some NBA playoffs. My dog barked a lot, so hopefully we won't have to deal with that today. The swimming pool in the backyard was getting opened, so she was all fired up about the guy that was doing it. And we just kept going down different roads, which is what we do here on this podcast. As far as the Browns schedule, they've arrived, guys. 4 national standalone games. The possibility of a 5th on the initial schedule before the fact that they're good, if they're really good, and if they're playing big games, there are all sorts of flexes built in. But the thing that I said, Dre, and congrats to the Browns on this, is when I really dove into last year's schedule to see how they structured some things, the NFL took teams like the Bills and the Patriots that they knew or they figured would be playing for playoff spots, and they backloaded their national TV games. And they did that this year with the Browns. And so that's a sign of respect. So I know some people, wish that more home games were on TV. And listen, if the Broncos get Aaron Rodgers, then all of a sudden Cleveland hosts the Thursday night game of the year. We'll see how that goes. But first, two quick thoughts. 9 times out of 10, the schedule stuff evens itself out one way or the other, right? And two, like, it really is a sign of respect that Sunday Night Football, Thanksgiving weekend, Monday Night Football, Week 17, the NFL is saying we trust that the Browns are going to be playing games that matter.
Yes. Well, and I said this, and I say this tongue in cheek, and I kind of mean it, but I don't mean it all the way. It's unbelievable to me that the NFL has continued to find ways to grab people's attention when there's no games being played anytime soon. And because of probably where I'm at in life, and as you said, I'm on the West Coast, East Coast schedule all at once. I haven't been able to jump for joy over his schedule because I knew there would be 17 games in between September and January. The thing that jumped out to me, obviously, was that you start the season versus Kansas City, and you talk about, national games. The NFL really does things differently now when it comes to this isn't 2000 anymore. This isn't 2010. Hell, this isn't even 2015 anymore with how and what is important to their scheduling, because behind the scenes, I know that ESPN/ABC has fought to make Monday night to be more, what's the word I want to use? More formidable, that you just won't just have any Monday night game anymore. And I know Sunday night has become the pinnacle, basically, of the schedule. But if you get the 4:40 game, which basically is a standstill game, as you just said already, on Sunday afternoons, that basically is to all of America. I'm not blown away by playing Kansas City the first week of the season, only because I know the reactions of us. And when I say us, meaning all media, all Northeast Ohio, either at 8 o'clock, you guys will be calling like the Rizzo show on Sunday talking about Super Bowl tickets, or you'll be trying to jump off the 480 bridge come that first Sunday of the season. and neither is really you don't need to do either after week one.
Yeah, so congrats to the Browns for being good enough to get first game back in Kansas City because they know people are watching. Right. And that 425 window is huge. That 425 window week one didn't used to exist because of tennis.
Right.
You guys see, I don't get out much, right? Even before the pandemic, right? But it used to be CBS games at once. So a couple things, Dre, that you touched on. Guys, the CBS, what we've known our whole lives, right? AFC games on CBS, NFC games on Fox, that's out the window. There will still be that, but basically those games are up for grabs now, and these networks draft them. Monday Night Football flex scheduling is coming to fruition. I don't think that's something that will happen a lot, but you will see bad games get removed from Monday night and a handful of marquee games get pushed back, despite the logistical challenges of doing that. And then every year, Week 18, there will be a Saturday doubleheader of 2 marquee significant games played on Saturday and then one on Sunday night. So the Browns are likely disqualified from Super Saturday this year because they played Monday night, Week 17. I don't think they do the super short week thing, but if Browns-Bengals is big, if it's going to determine seeding or the division, then they could still play that extra Sunday night game. So there is a chance. There are 4 locked in, before flex scheduling. But there is a chance the Browns could play 6 or 7 Monday games in addition to, as you mentioned, KC at 4 o'clock, Chargers at 4 o'clock, Arizona at home at 4 o'clock, which to me could be, Arizona is one of those boomer bust teams. They loaded up on all these 30-some-year-old guys. But I just think the world of Kyler Murray's talent. And if they keep those guys healthy, if J.J. Watt's healthy, if A.J. Green's got anything left in the tank, that's a sneaky good team. That's to me, the most loaded division in football. Outside the AFC North is the NFC West.
But congrats to you, because you just did the thing that we both know better than. You had too many ifs in there. And look, anyone that goes about winning an NFL season is going to have to answer a lot of the what ifs. I think the thing that we love about the Browns is that they don't have a lot of what ifs. They have a lot of knowns, right?
Yeah.
We know who they are, what they are, and how they can go about doing things. And so that I think the scheduling part, like, for me, I told you this when we recorded this yesterday. The only thing I look at is like the first 3 or 4 games of the season is to try to figure out where the hell I'm going to be and how the hell I'm going to have to watch football while I'm doing baseball games. So I'm like,
that
sweet.
is what you think.
That's all I think. I'm being completely honest. I'm like, all right, first game of the season is a 4 o'clock game. Indians play at 1 o'clock. Sweet. I'll be able to catch, for me, I'm like, that's a good one. 1 o'clock, I think the second week, I think both the Indians and Browns play at 1 o'clock. I'm like, all right.
So,
looks like I won't
let me cut you off for a second. That's so true. Like, I had people hitting me up last week, like, give me some schedule tidbits. Where are you excited? And I'm like, listen, Like, I care about a couple of road trips and when they are, in terms of seeing good weather once it turns bad here, right? Or in terms of being here for certain weekends so I don't miss certain family or things I want to do. And I'm like, and in September, all Andre cares is when the games are, because he's got to make sure he doesn't get pelted by a baseball trying to watch the Browns in the dugout.
That's my first, like, everybody else is like, oh, I'm going to do this. But I will say this, and this is a step for me this is a step. I will say that I did go through the first month when I knew baseball would be going on, but I did, for the first time in a long time, Zach, I looked at the schedule and thought to myself, what game would I try to go to and take my dad to, or what game would I want to go as a fan? I haven't done that in a very long time. Maybe it's just me aging a little bit, and maybe after going through a pandemic and not being able to kind of go to a game. I will say, for the first time in forever, I did look at the schedule and was like, all right, because I ain't going to no game in December. I'll tell y'all fools that right now. So literally, I went from like mid-October to like mid-November, and I was like, which one of these games would I be willing to go to and actually go as a fan? So that's how I look at a schedule.
I don't know. Are you too old for that Thursday nighter or not?
Ooh, that's the one. How'd you know that was the one I picked? I mean, Ryan Isley's he's my hometown Uber driver. So I got to find out how much money he would make on a Thursday night football night and not pick up hookers, drug dealers, and people that don't know which way is which. I figure if I pay him enough, he'll pick me up and take me. So maybe I am old enough to do that.
Yeah, I just think, the hit would be different Friday morning, whereas on a Sunday 1 o'clock game, you've got the rest of the day to kind of gather yourself once you get back to the homestead.
You're right. And maybe this is where I'm at as a fan now. I'd almost rather give up my Friday afternoon / early afternoon only so I can have Sunday where I can watch. I'm more into watching all the teams and all the games. That exactly. I'm willing to give up the Thursday, Friday to have my Sunday the way that it is. And that's the other thing I would say. I got to watch a ton of football last year, which was great. And I told you this, like the 4 o'clock games were always interesting to me. And you worked so many 1 o'clock games. Like that Arizona team, they are like, if I played Madden the way I used to play Madden, that would be like the first team I would take. The Browns or Arizona Cardinals. But I'm very curious what they're going to do with Kyler Murray. Because after he got hit a couple times last year and his shoulder was banged up, and look, this happens with any player that gets banged up, but he's so small that things did change a little bit with how they could run an offense. And this has been the question with Arizona from the moment that they drafted him where they drafted him. It meant his talent is through the roof, no doubt about it. But when he's banged up, can you base your offense around a 5'10", 5'9" quarterback?
Yeah. I don't think he's 5'10" in cleats.
No.
Right. No, that's an interesting question. Look, what you just said it right there is how far the Browns have come. If I was still playing Madden, I'd probably be the Browns, right? Like, what did you say on yesterday's? It was only 5-6 years ago that we were doing the podcast in the mid to late summer, and we were talking about something completely different than the Cleveland Browns. And I said, oh, by the way, I had to go to the sports store the other day to pick up a watch or something. And here's the jerseys on the wall. Isaiah Crowell, right? Desmond Bryant, right? Joe Thomas, who's greatest guy ever, but, was a left tackle and an aging one at that point. And now the Browns have all this star power. So, look, guys, they're good. And, they're not without flaws. The roster's not perfect, but it's good in many areas, and they think it's a lot better on defense. So we'll see how it comes together. We'll see how they handle all this stuff. But, I mean, the entire offense is back. The defense has been remade. It was needed. I think they mixed some really sound decisions with some aggression and taking some risks. I love the thought of Clowney. I don't love the thought of Clowney getting hurt, especially at the expense of Sheldon Richardson, but we'll see. Right, I love the thought of Odell coming back. We'll see how that all works out. This is a really good team. And it's a really exciting time. And I'll say this, Dre, like having been out more as the world starts to open, and me even in the last couple weeks going places other than my local golf course or my local watering hole. Mm-hmm. One thing that's really struck me, people wearing the Browns gear.
I know.
Everywhere you go, there's a Nick Chubb hoodie. There's a Browns t-shirt. There's a new jersey. There's the new pullover, the windbreakers that you wear at this time of year, right? Because you don't know in Ohio if it's going to be 40 or 80. Like, yeah. It's back, and that's a lot of fun. Like, in the late 80s, we were kids. We were in elementary school. We remember that stuff. It shaped our fandom. Let's just be honest. It hasn't been that way for a long, long time. So Is the team a sleeping giant? We think so. We'll see. Is the fan base a sleeping giant and ready to unleash on downtown Cleveland? Yes, so you better really be mentally ready to go to one of those games at your age.
I have a question. You ain't lying. I have a question about that, but we'll get closer to the season before we go there. And before we get out of here, I want to ask you about rookie camp and all that other stuff. And I just saw Greg Newsome turn 21 today. I'm looking at Twitter as you were speaking, and my mouth just dropped as you were questioning if I got a Thursday night game in me. That seeing him just turn 21 hit me harder than you saying that. The NBA season is over, but not over because let's be honest, the NBA has one of the same characteristics that MLB has. There's a lot of casual fans that don't want to watch. I mean, I'll be honest. I'm an NBA fan, and Thursday nights most of the time, I only watch the fourth quarter of the game so I can see Charles Barkley and Shaq make fun of each other until 1:30 in the morning, more so than I care about who wins that game that night. But the best thing that the NBA has is playoff basketball. Playoff basketball is different. It's here now, and I got to bring up the play-in game with you. This is something I've been wanting to talk about for a while because in all seriousness, I didn't have any idea how the play-in games worked. It was a little bit like the All-Star game where they went to that new scoring thing. And look, all sports really at this point in time, and we know baseball. And when we somehow in the first podcast that we did really good for 45 minutes and did bring up baseball. And then for like 45 seconds, we let the world blow up in baseball. But we may get back to that. This basketball thing that's going on. This play-in game thing. You may be able to explain it better than some others. Maybe I am, maybe I can't. But I wasn't crazy about it 3 weeks ago, Zach. I was the old fuddy-duddy, get this stuff out of my room, just give me the top 16 teams and get out of my freaking way. But now, now that we're on May 18th? Is that where we're at? May 18th, 19th? I'm a little bit excited about it because of who's showing up and who's playing who, and it's something different, and maybe this is what basketball needs.
Well, surprisingly, we got a little off track, but I'll say this. Congrats to the NBA for this unique format and for landing Warriors versus Lakers as the showcase game of it. Congrats to the NBA for Warriors-Lakers being 10 o'clock on a Wednesday and for the possibility that we're one more Anthony Davis ankle sprain away from the Lakers not being in the real playoffs at all.
Okay, okay, as much as we both like this, and I'm glad you do it, congrats on this. Congrats on this. If the Lakers get bounced, is it a great idea, but it becomes a complete congrat?
Yeah, it depends on how you look at it. I mean, I think to a lot of the basketball community, yes. And I mean, I think for as much turmoil as the Lakers have gone through and how early in the year it looked like they added juice to their roster and then it really hasn't, right? Like, we want to see LeBron James and Anthony Davis in the playoffs, right? We believe that team, under any circumstances, could still raise the trophy. I almost said in June, but June's in 2 weeks. Yeah. Whenever it is the hell that this playoffs are finally over, right? The format is unique. I like it. So the 7 is playing the 8. The 9 is playing the 10. The 9-10 games are single elim. Loser goes home, which adds some March Madness element and some real postseason element to it. And then the winner of that game plays the loser of 7-8 in another elimination game. So this is totally unique. I didn't even know this till like a week ago. Did you? I don't even think you knew it until we started talking about it on the podcast.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
I didn't know about it.
I thought they were both going to be best of threes and they would drag out over the course of the week and whatever. So, with the exception of playing it at the University of Dayton, it's just a lot like the first 4. And we'll see how it shakes out. But, yeah, it's interesting. This has been a weird year, and I think the NBA, I think guys were tired, and the NBA was off schedule, and they're still dealing with COVID uncertainty. And unfortunately, tonight you open the playoffs with Karis LeVert being out because of failing the health and protocol rules. I really think everybody involved wants this over, right? But we know that, like, most of the appeal of today's NBA is the drama, but the playoffs still matter. And I know from my perspective, it's not like the NCAA tournament where I'll watch every bounce. But for the next 2 months, like, I'm excited. This is going to be high-level competitive basketball. And I think for the first time in a long time, I think there's more than 5 teams that legitimately have a chance to win the thing.
Right. I mean, and that's what the NBA wants. I'm mad that Denver lost one of my favorite players. I mean, without having Murray, I told you when they made the trade at the trade deadline, I was like, look, I think Denver legitimately has a chance to win the NBA Finals. And I'm going to get on you about we'll talk about the NBA MVP. LeBron says it's another man that was born in Akron, Ohio, and I never fight that. And that's part of it. But the Joker is one of my favorite players to watch. I like Malone as a coach. But unfortunately, them losing Murray, it changes their offense because he is the one guy that they can kind of hand it to and give them offense. The rest, Michael Porter Jr. is a player that I'm a Denver fan. I like how they play. I like how they're coached. But you could talk me into two or three other teams that could win it all just as easily. I think, you know what? I want to say this the right way. We all have a pretty good idea usually who the Final Four will be in the NBA playoffs. Wouldn't you say that? I think
usually we do. Usually we could sit here right now, the day before the playoffs start, and name 3 of the Final Four.
Yeah. I don't know if we're there. Like, here, I'll give you a perfect example why I'm excited about the NBA playoffs. I don't think the Portland Trailblazers have a chance in hell to win it all. But I also will watch the last 5 minutes of every one of their games.
Because Dame might pull up from, Sacramento, right?
Yes. I know Dame Dollar is going to do something that's going to make you say, holy. And I think that's where the NBA and with this Twitter world that we live in and with this instant gratification world that we live in, I think somehow football has overcome this. And football, maybe it's because football hasn't oversaturated us completely. It's a different saturation with it because you have college football almost on daily and everything else. But with baseball and basketball, like Kevin Pillar of the Mets got hit in the face last night, and it was one of the most disgusting things. I know it was disgusting because they didn't play it back on TV, and usually we play everything back on TV. But he got hit with a 95-mile-per-hour fastball in the nose, broke all kinds of bones in his nose. He was leaking like I haven't seen anybody leak. They had to clean the home plate off. It was disgusting, right? That will get more play in the world that we live in right now than a good 9-inning baseball game. We had 2 people dressed up as elephants last night in Anaheim, and we showed it on TV. That will get more play than the double hit by whomever else or by the great pitching performance by Nick Sandlin last night. The thing that the NBA playoffs and Dame Dollar gives the NBA playoffs, he will give you, or he has given you, Twitter moments, right? He's given you moments where you're like, I don't know who Dame Dollar is, but damn, Dame Dollar's so big right now that, his interviews from being in the bubble last year now are part of J. Cole's top #1 rap album in the world right now. Talking about I came here for business. You know why I'm here. Dame Dollar and the Portland Trailblazers have about the same chance as Zach and Andre winning a fitness contest over the next 3 months. But the Portland Trailblazers will be one of the most watched playoff teams. When we know what time they're playing, the TV will be turned on. Like tonight, you got Charlotte and Indiana. I can't believe I'm saying this, but a Ball brother, who I remember when he scored 100 in high school, you and I were in a studio together doing a podcast, and you were telling me about the Balls. That was like 4 years ago now, right? That was 4 or 5 years ago.
At least.
I know tonight, while I'm prepping for the Indians game, I will have that Charlotte game on the background because I like Bridges, and I like and Ball is an exciting player. I can't help it, Zach. He's an exciting player. The Washington game tonight in Boston. We said this yesterday, and we got to say it again. You have always been, and I'm glad you were, you've always been in the front of the line of saying Russell Westbrook is special. He's different. He may not be, the guy your brother recruits to come play for him. He may not be the guy that you teach your kid to play like, but we got to give him his flowers and respect because he's got more triple doubles than Oscar Robertson. And now he plays with Bradley Beal, who's got a hamstring injury that's going to slow him down. But Bill's one of the best pure scorers the NBA has right now.
Yeah, they're fun. And I will try to stay up and watch that game tonight, no doubt, because they're fun. It sucks, Trey, to be right here and having this conversation because I know that Cavs apathy is so prevalent, right? And we're only 5 years from removing the title. But, I think, and this is our podcast, we talk about what we want, but I think there's just a big chunk of people here in our home base, right, that say I can't get excited about the NBA because my team is miles away from relevance, right now.
They are.
Right?
They are.
Now, one thing we've talked about is I think in recent years, a reason people would say I can't get excited about the NBA is it's all about the offseason and we know only 2 or 3 teams can win. And we're telling you this year's different, right?
Yeah.
And we're telling you this is going to be good, competitive basketball, and there are going to be, I don't know, what's the surprising? Is surprising the right word? I don't know. There's going to be notable, interesting results over the next few weeks. Like I said, I'll be plugged in. Just from a sports watching standpoint, this is usually the time of the year that it goes dry because this is usually the time of the year that we're down to 4 teams in the NBA. And now this year we have 20, at least for 2 more, or at least for one night. We're at 20 teams, right? So we'll see how that goes. I think we're all just excited of the transition right now in sports. This is Tuesday as we record this. I was busy this morning, but I did see the Indians announce that the stadium is going full open in 2.5 weeks, something like that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully we're turning corners that way. I don't know what's going to happen with the Browns in training camp. I know there'll be a waiting list 1,000 fucking miles long if they can have fans there, especially if it's not full fans.
And we've been good at doing this and not talking out of the side of our ass like we know more than we should, or like we stayed at a Holiday Inn last night. But if on June 2nd the Indians can open up Progressive Field fully, I don't know how the hell they're not going to have training camp. I mean,
well, let me say I'm glad you brought that up because of the fight going on between the players and the league. NFL players are not going to be mandated to be vaccinated. Right. So to open it to fans, there's still some complications there because that's the essence of training camp. You get to watch these guys from 5 feet away. You get to bring your kids and get autographs and take pictures and all of that after practice. And I just don't know. That's the holdup, right?
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Something else popped up in my head as this was happening, and totally off base, but on base. Will the Haslams use the advantage of opening up a new stadium down in Columbus, even though they are doing some back? And I'm not a soccer fan, so soccer people, God bless you. It is weird that they're renaming the Columbus Crew. They built that new stadium, and I know there were some agreements.
Well, they backpedaled on that. That's over, I guess.
Really? They backpedaled?
Yeah.
Wow.
The nerds won. The bigger nerds won.
You know what? The nerds won, but the Haslams win because they made soccer in a backwards way. Because I'm not big fans of who they are and what they've done in the past, but they got soccer in the headlines for a couple days.
Yeah, and listen, that stadium down there is a big deal. Have you seen the drawings of it?
Yes, I have.
It looks crazy. So, to answer your question, no, I don't know exactly what the plan is for training camp. I know that pending full NFL clearance, Stefanski plans to have some going away practices against other teams. But are they here or are they at another team's facility? Are they at a neutral site? I don't know. And I think a lot of that just comes down to the regulations of how many people can we have, what is going to be the deal. So, will they have a stadium practice open? Might they have to close normal practices and just have multiple stadium practices? Might they go and do one in the Cruise Stadium? I think that's all in play, but right now on May 18th, I don't think any of that's settled because, like I said, it's just you can't say that the players, you can't just expose the players to outside things when you're doing all these other protocols otherwise just to have practice, right? So I just don't know how that's going to work out.
No, that'll be interesting. Since we're talking about the NBA, and we'll go back to that, the Cleveland Cavaliers, season is over. We're now 3 years removed from LeBron Ramon James leaving town again.
God, it feels like 33.
Yes, it does. And knowing that he was leaving town this time, right?
Yeah.
Like, no one was caught blindsided. I think we all knew what was coming. We can have the argument. I never liked the Kyrie Irving trade. I never was for it. I didn't like the trade they made in LeBron's last year. I think Jason Lloyd did a pretty good job writing in The Athletic about where the Cavs are and how they kind of rolled over in their last attempt to win a championship. And obviously this is 2020 hindsight, but if you listen to the podcast, and we've got plenty of pods to go back and listen to, and they're for sale. But I don't think I changed much from then to today. seeing how far away and how hard it is to get to the playoffs for the Cavs, and considering the last time they won a playoff game without LeBron being a part of the team, I think Sean Kemp was somewhat skinny and in shape still, and most of it, and the queue was called the Gun Arena and had light blue seats that got dirty every time you sat on them. The uphill battle that the Cavaliers are going through, and after that charade they played with Anderson Varejao over the last few weeks, it's quite. And look, Dan Gilbert brought a championship here, but the championship doesn't come here if LeBron doesn't come back. I feel like that organization is in shambles a little bit, and I don't want to be negative about this at all, but they're 3 years removed. Garland, you know what? And you made this point yesterday, and I'll let you make it. Darius Garland, he looks legit, but so does Sexton at times. But at his best, I don't see Sexton as more as a great six man or the second or third fiddle on a really, really, really good team. You can't give that guy the max. You're going to probably have to give Allen the max. I'm not sure who and what this team is, and if they've made any movement forward since LeBron walked out the door, Zach.
No, those are all fair questions, Sherry. And listen, even when you take on a multi-year rebuild, which the Cavs obviously did, and, you know, part of the reason we've saved this for now and part of the reason we'll be done with this in 2 minutes is we just don't know. There's not a lot to say. That's how bad they are, right? But a major question you have to ask yourself at any level of sport, at any level of your program building a high school basketball program, an NBA team, a pro soccer team, an NFL team. What are realistic expectations for next year, right? And frame that in whatever 3-5 year box or window that you're in. Like, we all agree the Browns window is open, right? We all agree the Indians have flaws but could still win 90 games if they get a little bit hot with the bats, right?
Right.
What is realistic for the Cavs next year? Maybe cracking the play-in game, right?
Yeah.
Like, what? You know, Kevin Love has zero trade value. That's a joke. The Varejao thing was a joke, right? Like, all of these things have stacked up. What would Colin Sexton fetch you in a trade? Anything? I don't know the answer to that.
Right.
I don't think the answer is very much.
Yeah, and right, that's the scary part, man.
Right.
Like, what are you really building? And I'm not trying to attack Kobe, but because Kobe, look, being the general manager of the Cleveland Cavaliers is you're playing with one hand behind your back, because the owner is going to be the owner. The owner is going to come up with ideas and do things that maybe don't agree with where you're going forward, right? You can't sell me on two smaller guards going forward, especially when the league is full of. You need the 6'7" guy, the athletic guy, and maybe they get Cade Cunningham in the draft. And I hate that. I hate that this comes back to, man. I hope you get this guy in the draft, because that's basically what it comes to when it comes to the Cleveland Cavaliers. They got to get lucky in the NBA lottery to have any luck when it comes to the season, and that just sucks, to be completely honest.
Yeah, tall ain't all, right? But I can tell you this:
yeah.
I've been in the same room as LaMelo Ball one time in my life. He's a head taller than both the Cavs guards.
Yep. And the game is all about size in that game. It really is.
Yeah, so we'll see. You know you're not ever going to get A-list free agents unless you get that one player that could bring them here, which obviously Cleveland was blessed to have for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
You know you're going to have to go about it a certain way. It's just they're well into the process, and we don't know which way it's gone. We don't know which way is next, because it's hard to tell what the plan ever was.
Right. I don't know what the plan is. I don't. But I know if they give all the money to Sexton, and this isn't hating. I love that. Hey, Sexton plays hard, right? Like he plays hard. He's worked his butt off. It just ain't it. It just ain't it. Your MVP for the NBA.
I didn't watch enough. I mean,
okay.
I watched the odds and saw that Jokic was the runaway winner. You know, I'm way more familiar with what Steph did over the last 6-8 weeks or so, and I saw a little bit of that. But I'm just going to be honest. In the regular season, I watched 5 quarters of the Denver Nuggets.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. I think the Joker should win it, but I got nothing against Steph winning it. I don't. Because what Steph did, considering what his teammates are, I'm going to go on a limb, and I can't believe I'm going to say this. And not that I had any disrespect towards Steph. I think I've got more now than I ever have before what he did this year with what his teammates were. You know, like in the past.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like in the past.
They play this guy named Juan Toscano Anderson.
Right.
They play Kent Bazemore, who's been on every team in the league and has sucked on every team in the league.
Yes, this is like his third time with the Warriors.
Yeah, it feels like he was on the Run TMC Warriors, yes, and was the ninth man then. Yes. He stinks, right?
Yes.
Like, it's wild. It is.
But what does it say? All right, let me ask you this: what does it say for the NBA if the Joker is the MVP? You know, we talk about the game becoming an international game. The game's played differently, and you get this 6'11" guy that can't run, he can't jump, but he truly may be one of the most all-skilled players in the game. And if that's recognized to become the MVP, I think that's a good thing for the league.
Yeah, but I also think you could look at this as the year that everybody just wanted to get over with, right? LeBron missed a quarter of it. AD missed a quarter of it. Joker's unique, and he is so fun to watch play. But like I said, I just didn't see enough, and I just didn't feel compelled to see enough.
Fair enough.
About this.
You still stuck on Aaron Rodgers will not be a Green Bay Packer?
You know, I'm not sold on it. I know I answered the question that way. I think Aaron is stubborn enough to try to see this through. We're 2 weeks away. It would have to be a post-June 1 move if a move was made, just for salary cap reasons to make it realistic for either team. The asking price of the Packers would be huge, and rightfully so. I mentioned Denver earlier because I just think they're the only team that would realistically be willing to do it because they do have some nice pieces. They're in a division where you have to score 1 million points, and I think they've seen, they're seeing the end of Von Miller's run. They've seen Bradley Chubb be a good player when healthy, but not a great one, and they've seen, this nice young offensive talent that they've collected not have a quarterback. Play the Chiefs well once a year and just run out of juice. And I think they look and they say, okay, if we didn't have to give up the entire farm, if we only had to give up 70% of the farm and we could get Aaron Rodgers, would our Super Bowl window be open for 2 years? And are we willing to risk beyond that? I think it's a no-brainer. I just think they've had bad quarterback play for a long time. Hell, they won the Super Bowl 5 or 6 years ago with bad quarterback play from Peyton Manning.
Yeah, you're right.
Von Miller missed all year last year. Like I said, Chubb has missed time. That's the one, most realistic fit. I don't see anybody else because of the salary involved and because of what you'd have to give up. I don't see anybody else as a realistic fit right now. Obviously, they wouldn't trade him within their own division, and they probably wouldn't want to trade him within the NFC at all. So, New England seems out, right? I think the Dolphins have collected these picks with the intention of still trying to get Deshaun Watson or someone like that. But to me, Denver is the only realistic one that would say, okay, here's your 2 1s and your 2 and your established player and your 2 4s, whatever. I'm just spitballing. I'm not writing that stuff down, right? But here's your freaking farm. Give us our guy. And then Denver can say, okay, we're ready to win because when you have Aaron Rodgers, you can win 12 games every single year.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I keep hearing people say, well, you should call his bluff. I don't think this isn't playing poker.
Okay, well, what do you get? What do the Packers gain by calling his bluff? If he doesn't show up this year and the Packers don't pay him, so they gain $33 million by not paying him, then they suck.
Right. Yes, you don't gain anything by doing that. And I think, the smart franchises know that. And I'm not saying Green Bay has always been a very smart franchise, to be honest. But some of the things that have made them smart makes their relationship with one of the best quarterbacks in the last 40 years very difficult right now. And like I said, every time I hear somebody say, well, call his bluff, I'm like, no, you don't call his bluff because that's going to mean 12 losses and not 12 wins. And you brought up the salary cap part of this. I just wish Aaron Rodgers, and he's one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. And if you ask me my top 5 quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers is in my top 5. But he plays, man, he's got NBA petty in him. He is petty to a point where it's hard to like stand behind everything he does. And I'm not saying he's wrong, and I get it. When you look around the league and you look at the landscape, look, we all got pride. And if one of these rinky-dink podcasts that's out here that claims to know it all and they know nothing was suddenly getting paid $1 million to podcast, I'm sure I'd be pissed and petty about it, right? Mm-hmm. When Aaron Rodgers sees Dak Prescott get, and no offense to Dak earned it. You look at what Dak has gone through. You look what Tom Brady has gone through. Look, and he can put himself in cases with all those guys. And Green Bay refuses to draft receivers high in the draft for him. I can see where he's kind of like, F you guys. I don't know if you told me this, and this is off kilter and something different. Have you and I talked about Aaron Shea, Tom Brady, and Bruce Arians? Have we had that conversation?
I told you that. Yeah.
You told me, yes. So I was interviewing Aaron Shea a couple days ago for this thing that we're doing that I'm working on that you guys will know about over the next couple of months. And I think, and I'll just say it out loud because people can hear us talk about this, but they won't be able to do what we would do with it. I've told Aaron Shea whenever Tom Brady retires, we're gonna do some kind of documentary on Tom Brady through Aaron Shea's eyes. That will be unbelievable. But Aaron Shea's kids, their godfathers. One of the kids' godfathers is Tim Couch. Another one of his kids' godfathers is Tom Brady. And then like his middle kid's godfather is like Bubba from Illinois that he grew up with.
The guy's name is almost certainly Bubba.
Yeah. And his kid finally got old enough to say to him, Dad, what the hell? Why do I get him and I don't give somebody else? I just had to tell that because when Shea told me, I peed myself laughing. Oh, that dude he is a classic man. Oh my God.
But Shea gave, as the story goes, right? Tom Brady supposedly did not believe that the Bucs would want him.
Right.
And Shea gave him Bruce Arians' number or gave Bruce Tom's number?
I think Bruce, he woke up the way Aaron told me the story, because he's not a morning person. You can figure out why. He woke up to a bunch of missed calls and text messages from Bruce Arians and other people that were around the team. And they didn't want to tamper, but Bruce wanted to know who Tom was. And Bruce obviously coached Aaron Shea when he was in Cleveland. So he reached out and Tom was, and Aaron was like, hell yeah, you want him. And then Aaron kind of reached out to Brady and he was like, look at the team, blah, blah, blah. And basically what Shea told me was that Brady was basically dead set on wanting to go home and play for San Francisco. But if he couldn't go to San Francisco to play, Tampa was the next team. And the story goes like this, is that Shea, so when Tom Brady wanted to know what the coach was like, what BA was like, Shea was like, shit, he's the opposite of what you deal with. He goes, Couch used to throw balls at my feet. And BA would be like, good throw, TC. Make sure you catch that, Shea. So Shea told that story to Tom Brady, and he was like, dude, he'll be kissing your ass from day one. He goes, this will be nothing like Bill Belichick. He goes, you can throw the ball anywhere, and he's always going to give you love. I tell that story, and I did this on purpose, because do you remember the stories that were out there that were run by major media people about Bruce Arians, quote-unquote, calling out Tom Brady at the beginning of this past football season? And Shea brought that up to me to say, you can't believe everything you hear and go about. He goes, I've played for BA. I know how BA treats his quarterbacks. And he goes, and I've played with Tom Brady, and I know how serious Tom Brady takes in quarterbacking. What BA was doing was protecting his team because he knew Tom Brady was going to take care of what Tom Brady needed to take care of.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a great story of people getting caught up in what they hear in the media, having no fucking idea what really was going on.
Listen, I want to – that's incredible first. But secondly, I would sum up the Browns' schedule talk by saying this. Last year, guys, on Thanksgiving weekend, the Browns' passing game had its most complete game, and they took off from there. And they had incredible experiences the rest of the way through the bizarre COVID game, the wild Monday night game that they played great but didn't win, the game they beat the pants off Tennessee, right? And they rode that out. On Thanksgiving weekend, if the season had ended that day, the Bucs would not have even been in the playoffs. So, my breakdown of the schedule is take a deep breath. We'll see. They'll win some, they'll lose some. They'll play a great game against somebody, maybe Kansas City, maybe not. They'll play a bad game against somebody, maybe Kansas City, maybe not. And if you have your dudes in November and December and you develop your identity and start playing well then you can make a run. The one thing that I have said and written and will continue to say, the Browns need to win the division because realistically you need to play at least one home playoff game. And everybody in Cleveland needs that game, and the Browns need that game, right? You just – I know the Bucks did it, but it just doesn't happen, right, if you're really going to make a run. So win the division.
Basically what you're saying, what Tom Brady and the Bucks did, they did with one of the best quarterbacks of all time and one of the best coaches of all time.
Yes.
And the other thing is, and you're kind of hitting at this, they took advantage of a pandemic playoff system where they were able to go on the road and not deal with real crowds.
They played Taylor Heineke the first playoff game. Yes. Yeah. Matt LaFleur kicked a field goal. Things have to, I guess, two things. One, you got to be playing well at the right time. The right time's a long fucking way from May. And two, things have to go your way, and you just don't know. You just don't know. You got to. What makes the Browns dangerous to me, obviously, they're talented, but the way that they have those running backs in that offensive line, you don't see that shit every week, Dre. No. And that could cook up things. The quarterback has to play well. He's going to have to play really well in the big games. The defense has to be a ton better because last year 28-point leads were not safe. But the big thing is, how are you different? What makes you unique to prepare for and a pain in the ass to play against? And if the Browns' offensive line gets back to that level and Chubb and Hunt are doing what they do in the various ways that they do it, then the Browns can beat anybody. And no doubt. Week one, to me, I'm disappointed that they play at Kansas City for this regard. And I think that, given truth serum, I think they would be too. When you play that game, the chances are the road to the AFC title is coming back through that stadium, right? And I just think in week one, you're finding yourself. And that goes for the Chiefs, too. That goes for every team. You're still finding yourself. I think if you played that game more in even week 7, 8, let alone 10, 11, you would really get more valuable experience out of it because who are the Browns going to be in week one? Hell, they lost by 100 last year in week one, and it didn't matter. They had their best season in 30 years, right? The deck was stacked against them. This year, they'll get a full training camp. They'll get the preseason. They've kept their coaches. They're acting like a big boy organization. They belong in these discussions. I'm just saying you're not going to get a ton out of that game other than your airtime, and your secondary is going to get put to the test, and we'll see how it goes.
They really are. They really, really are. I truth serum from you. How excited are you to be in Green Bay for Christmas?
Well, we got to get these access issues hammered out, or I won't be on the road. But it's certainly different. Appleton in the summer is beautiful. Even the time we came out and Jimmy Donovan was white as a ghost and told us he couldn't find Bernie.
We also watched why can't I think of his name right now? The defensive coordinator. We also watched a Ryan eat a $30, $40 steak at midnight too.
Yeah, so Green Bay, and I haven't been there in many years, probably more than 10, actually. There didn't used to be a hotel big enough to house an NFL team. You have to stay in Appleton, which is 30 to 40 miles away, I believe. Mm-hmm. So, we'll see. That it's really cool. And listen, that says that's the NFL saying they believe the Browns are going to be good, right? Yep. And that's going to be a huge game. We'll see how that all shakes out. Hell, the Packers could trade Aaron Rodgers, and that could still be a big game for them in that division.
Yeah.
So,
you're right.
Look, the Browns got handed a likely L in week 1, but then they got 2 pretty much layups, just like last year back at home, back-to-back. Texans and Bears. Win those games, you're 2-1. Then you're finding yourself. Now you're on to developing your strengths and masking your weaknesses. Now you're in a groove of playing, and we'll see. So it's interesting that Thursday night game comes in the middle of that 3-game home stretch. It's rare to have those, and to win the division, you got to be minimum 2-1 in that stretch, probably 3-0. We'll see. But, again, the holidays are the markers to me. On Halloween, they play their first division game. On Thanksgiving weekend, they play at Baltimore. That's not until then is anything really worth getting excited about. Let's just be honest. Because you're thinking beyond. We're not, well, of course we're going to overreact to what happens in week 1 and week 4, right? But, realistically, what does it matter?
Doesn't matter at all. It does, but you're right. But that's what we
right. I'm not saying start 2-7 and expect to make the playoffs, but I'm saying the games everyone remembers are after Thanksgiving.
Yes, the ones that matter are after Thanksgiving. You're absolutely right. I think this is a good time to do the what do you call this about baseball? The Indians 30 seconds.
The baseball minute, but hopefully not a full minute. Let me start by saying this: congrats to you for covering a team that every single night there realistically could be a no-hitter thrown by one team or the other.
Either way, yeah. Well, I'm on Twitter right now with somebody going like, it's May 18th. There are a few games over 500. Are they constructed perfectly? Hell no. Do they have an organization and a franchise that somehow has overcome? Like, I'm just sick of the Indians fights that I continue to hear. I get how people feel about the Dolans and this and that, but damn it, the product is better than more than 3/4 of what you get around baseball. Baseball is a broken thing right now. It's not perfect in any way, shape, or form. And baseball better get the right people in charge to figure out how to make this game more television friendly, more kid friendly, more because it's a great game. It is still a great game. I watch softball games with my kids, and like the game is great. Unfortunately, the people that are in charge have kind of messed up and skewered what we're watching. Look, and I got a guy right now texting me or tweeting me, we need to see what we have in the minors. Otherwise, it's going to be a long season. But this guy started his argument by bitching about them playing a bunch of young players. Like, you're seeing what's in the minors, dickhead, and you're already complaining about it. But you need to see more? Like, they're trying. Like, I don't know. I commend them for playing the way that they have and being where they're at. The one thing I will say, and I don't have all the answers. I just study every night and hope to be able to have fun doing a broadcast. And I think we're doing that, and the numbers say that, despite what others feel like. And I know this screwed up that everybody can't watch the games. I'm not a fan of that either. But we still are ranked pretty high in what we're doing. And I appreciate the people that are watching that know that we bust our ass to try to give an entertaining broadcast every single night. But this is baseball. Baseball offense. Offense is so bad right now. It's as bad as it was, I think, in '68, Zach. And in '68, they lowered the mounds after the season. What we have found out with all these kids swinging up, trying to hit the ball up in the air, that's easy to pitch to. Duh. And they figured out how to do that. But I give the Indians credit. And the one thing here, this is the one thing I'll say, and I'll leave it at this. The AL Central probably is not as good as we thought. Best record in baseball, though, as we stand, is the Chicago White Sox.
Don't the Twins have the worst record in baseball at this moment?
Yeah,
that's bizarre, isn't it?
And the White Sox and the Twins spent a ton of money.
Yeah,
and the Twins did everything that I hear Indians fans bitch about. The Twins did, and they're in the basement with the worst record in baseball. The White Sox are the cream. They're great, and the Indians are 3.5 games behind them. Are the Indians great when they're perfect in everything that they do? Do they have an imperfect roster? Absolutely. But as quickly as we say that, let's give credit that the people that put that team out there every day find a way for them to compete. When really they got to MacGyver a lineup together every single night.
Yeah, I mean the rub of baseball is that like there's a game every night, right? So you can react to it and you can say, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this bum is doing this," or "I can't believe this happened again," right? But realistically, you can't react every night because there's 162 games. Right? Like, I'm tracking it. I'm not in the park. I don't know the team. I mean, no one thinks that the Indians are a World Series team this year. Right?
No.
But, like, they can be a playoff team. Is that right?
They can be. And that, you know what? And let's be honest. This is a reset year. And you knew it was a reset year and everything they did previously and what they put on the roster. And what you just said, if we said that about the Cavaliers, we said that about the Browns, you said that about any other organization in the country, that in a reset year, you don't expect them to win it all, but they could be a playoff team, we would commend that organization.
Yeah. I mean, time will tell on what they got for the shortstop that's hitting 180 in New York, right?
I mean, yeah. And look, he's not going to hit that the rest of it.
No,
he's going to be better than that.
Of course.
But so far, you've got the same production at shortstop and the guys we got haven't been great either.
Yeah.
Think about, like you're getting the same thing. Baseball's in a weird stage right now, but you can't judge baseball off of 40 freaking games either.
No, you can't. You can't.
But my Twitter vote tells me different.
It's a long way to 162, buddy.
Yes, it is. Still
all right, we've been here a long time. I just realized what time it is. We got to go. Thank you guys for listening, tweeting, the feedback. We really do appreciate the messages when we call out for questions, when we ask for help on things. You guys have been awesome with that. So thanks to our sponsors, specifically to American Fireworks, as we mentioned before. Dial them up. Go to the store, tell them A to Z sent you, or dial up AmericanFireworks.com. We are thinking happy summer thoughts. I am off to a brief vacation. Memorial Day weekend is a week away. Dre, they're in LA 2 more days, right? And then do they come home?
Tomorrow, they're off Thursday, and then we have a homestand against the Minnesota Twins. Then they go back on the road, I think, to Detroit for a little while. I'm happy because the wife went off to work. I'm left with the kids. Their school is done. She told me I got to get dinner. So I'm going to Swenson's with the kids right now, then dropping them off at my dad's house and working. Let's go.
Hey, sometimes things just go in your favor. Thanks for listening, guys. We will talk to you probably next week on A to Z.
Konnichiwa, LeBron's ankle.